We know there are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and host of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
Right. Hi and welcome to LA Talk Live. We are Del and Debbie's Mind, Body, Soul and everything in between. I'm Del Ady Jones and I'm a certified transformational life coach, and I specialize in the areas of personal growth, relationships and divorce recovery.
Hi, I am Debbie Carlin Boyle. I'm the other half of Del and Debbie's Mind, Body, Soul. And I am a personal trainer, a fitness instructor, and a health and nutrition coach. And we're really excited about the show today. I want to give you a little bit, a little lead into it, if you will. So think about this. Have you realized that you're on this planet to do some very important work? Well, today we have an amazing and beautiful guest who helps people discover just how worthy they are. So we would like you to welcome today our empowerment and transformation coach as our guest, Adriana Sorgi, who is going to tell us how we can live and be an empowered and joyous life. Welcome, Adriana.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. Sorgi.
Sorgi. Okay, I know I asked before. I apologize.
No problem.
So this is all, I've been reading so much about you.
Thank you.
And this is all so fascinating to me because it makes so much sense, you know, in just finding our purpose. And you have a story that got you to finding your purpose, which in turn is now helping people find theirs. And we want to hear your story. So,
Right from the beginning.
Yeah.
All the way far back in Colombia.
Wow. Where do I start?
Yeah.
I moved here back in 1997.
And how old were you then?
I was 21 years
Wow.
old.
Now, did you move here with your family or?
No, by myself.
Oh my goodness.
and what brought you here? Was it
I
school?
was searching.
Yeah,
I was
okay.
searching for myself, and I thought I had to leave my country in order to find myself.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
so
a
I was
familiar
always
story.
Running away.
And all by yourself you came here?
All by myself. I
Wow.
came here, but I was an exchange student when I was 17 years old, and I happened to land in a family in Moore Park.
And
Moore
you
Park.
lived with them?
Moore Park in here.
Here
yes.
in LA. And you lived with them?
And I lived with them for a year. So that's what brought me back to LA. I liked LA, and I thought I know some people there. They can help me out. I'm just going to move there and just figure it out.
Now, were you already modeling before you moved here?
I was modeling, and I was having a pretty promising career before I moved. I was going to get into acting, but I had a horrible experience of kidnap before I left.
You were kidnapped.
I
Oh,
was
do
kidnapped.
tell.
I was kidnapped for a day.
Oh my
And
goodness.
I was
well,
not
hang on,
supposed.
That's terrifying.
I was not supposed to be kidnapped because they were not looking for me. They were looking for the guy that I was with.
Is
that
this wait a
night.
minute, is this in Colombia or
No,
or
this
in
in
LA?
Colombia.
Oh,
This
in Colombia.
So
Okay.
I was. That was probably the thing that really pushed me to leave my country because I was terrified, and not that I want to put my country down, but there was some pretty bad things happening back in the day,
Yes.
20 years ago.
Yes.
30 years ago, not 20. And I was at a restaurant with this guy. It was a date. We were not even together. We were just sort of dating, and he owned his own restaurant. And I went over there to have dinner with him. And then at the end of the evening, these guys came in, and they shut down the whole place. After everybody had left, I was just waiting for him to close the
Right, he was the
cash
last one
out,
to leave,
and he
yeah.
said, "Let's just wait, and then we'll go out for a drink." And I was just happened to be there, and then these guys came in with guns and it put me down and tied me up.
They tied you up? Oh.
Taped my mouth. I mean, it was like in the movies.
Oh, that's horrifying.
Yeah, and then they took my friend.
And they left you
They
there.
left me there, and the restaurant was completely closed and dark. They left with my friend. Nobody knew that I was there.
Wow.
So they gave me this liquid with this powder to numb me out.
Yeah.
And so I did. I went to sleep for hours until the next morning. The police came in and they found me. I was behind. It was an Italian restaurant. So you know where those burning oven.
Oh,
Yes,
but yeah,
yes,
but
Um,
like a pizza
like
oven?
wood burning oven.
burning
Yeah,
ovens,
I
yeah.
was behind there, and it was really hot because the oven was still on. And so I was on the floor laying down. They came in, took me to the hospital. They called my dad. My dad lived in Bogota at the time, and so he came and they took me to the hospital to detox. And
Wow.
I'd never ever
yeah,
heard
I
this
never
story.
really, I never really tell this story. It's so
Yeah.
interesting because you're telling me, tell me from the beginning.
Yeah, we like to
And
hear
I'm-
because stories lead people to where they are
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
By the time they get on our show, it explains how
Yeah.
their
Yeah.
journey got them to where they are.
But it's
so this
interesting
is,
because you said what brought you here, and that really was the thing that brought me
I
here.
don't blame you.
Because I was having a very interesting career at the time, but I wasn't very fulfilled. That was really
Yeah.
not the thing that made my heart sing. I
Yes.
was just doing it because, I thought, okay, I can take advantage of my body, and they're calling me from this agency and that one, and they want me to do this commercial so I can make a little money. But that wasn't really my passion. And then that led to that experience, and that experience led to
to
You
leave
coming
and
here.
find here, and
Here.
you had already been an exchange student.
I had
before
already
that.
been
so you
but
already
then
knew what it was like
I-
to be
yes,
in
but then
this area.
this time was different because I was on my own.
Right,
Yeah.
I was
exactly.
21 on my own. My father totally supported me. Said, "Go, I'll get you an apartment. Go to Santa Monica College on a student visa and see what what leads."
Yes.
And so,
That
what
leads
did
to-
you? I mean,
Wait, I have to ask one thing. What happened to the guy that owned the restaurant?
Yeah, he was Italian,
Uh-huh.
and I found out that the police found him like 3 months later.
alive?
Yeah, alive.
Okay.
And he moved to Canada. So he now lives in Canada. He's married and has children.
Okay.
And I don't keep
So
in
he
touch
got
with
out
so
of
a
that.
happy ending. Thank
Yeah.
goodness.
Yes,
Okay, that's
yes.
all I wanted
He's
to know.
fine.
Okay,
Yeah.
Let's go.
Okay,
back.
so I was going to say, so when you arrived here, and you had been doing some modeling, so did you go straight into modeling and acting here as well?
No, I did not.
No.
It took me a while because I was on a student visa, so that it doesn't, it's not as easy as you think to get into any agency without a work permit.
Yeah.
So I went and I did some work. I actually did a catalog for J.C. Penney. That was like one of the first jobs that I landed, and they paid me pretty well.
I was going to say that's a good
yeah,
job.
that was good. And 6 months later, I met my ex-husband, and we got married pretty fast.
Okay.
Like,
And how old were you at this point?
I was 22.
Oh,
Yeah. So
okay.
I was here for 6 months, and it was my birthday, and then I met him, and we got married really fast.
Right,
But the
wow.
thing though is that I was always looking for the next thing, for someone to save me. So it just felt very, I guess, interesting. The idea of meeting this man that was 13 years older than me, was wealthy, had it all together, so I thought when I was 21, and getting married was like the next thing for me. I thought, okay, this is I'm going to
Yeah.
be safe.
And it is, I mean, I share a similar experience. I came here at 21 too, and again, no work permit, a visitor's visa, and when that ran out, you sometimes, I mean, I married very early on. It
Yeah.
was,
How old were you?
I was, first time I got married, I was 22.
22 also.
And again, he was a wonderful man. I have nothing bad to say about him. I feel bad about the experience. I was too young. He was
Yeah.
15 years older than me.
Yeah.
And I think when you come here and you're so far away from your family, the unknown of whether you're going to be asked to leave or not, you want to stay here, and he offers stability. And but very,
Exactly.
very quickly, thank goodness, in my situation, I realized very early on that it was not a match, and I'd made a terrible mistake, and I
Yeah.
felt very, very guilty about it for a long time. But
Did you
but
get
I did-
divorced or annulled?
No, divorced.
Divorced.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But I knew that it was having children was I wasn't ready. I was way too young. He was ready. He was in his mid-30s, and that was the big one for me when I realized that it wasn't just I don't know. It's something I regret, but I understand the younger part of me, and I've done a lot of work around that, and understand that it wasn't done out of any malicious intent, but I unfortunately probably hurt
when
somebody.
you're young, you're still learning. You're still growing.
Yes, exactly.
And your marriage, did it last 10 years?
It lasted 10 years.
Yes.
We were married, officially married for 7 years, and together for 3 years. So and we had 2 children.
And you had 2 children together.
And as like you say, he was a wonderful man, and he still is. It was just for me,
timing.
I thought he was my savior. You know, I was 21, and I thought that seemed like a pretty good idea to marry an older man that I could get my green card, and financially I will be financially stable, and we will be happily ever after.
And so, in your marriage, did you were you still pursuing acting and modeling once you got married?
I actually was. I was going to Santa Monica College, and then I was going out on auditions here and there, but I was so lost. I was really confused. I didn't know what to do with my life, and the thing is that I didn't really have the confidence to share that with him. I didn't feel that I could really sit down with him and say, I don't know what to do. I'm pretty confused. Yeah. Can you help me out?
You were searching.
Yeah, I was
you
searching.
were at that age where you do that.
And I was embarrassed.
Age.
I was ashamed of confiding that with him.
Yeah, understandable, because you feel like you've made a commitment to be a good wife and a good mother, and there's your job now. But you had a much deeper calling, obviously, that was, I don't want to say gnawing, but it was pecking at you.
And that's the thing. That's why I do what I do, because I always felt that there was something else. There was something more about me, and I didn't know how to find it.
And so how did that work itself through? How did that transition, and that you did find it and realize you needed to move forward?
I had 2 children, and when I decided to get a divorce, that's when I knew that something dramatic had to happen in my life, that I wasn't happy with this man, and that I didn't see spending the rest of my life with him. We were just not a match anymore. I don't think we were ever a match, but I couldn't really recognize the truth.
But you came to a head, when you finally realized,
But then I made a decision. I said, I really need to get out of here, and it's going to be fine. And I was 33 years old, I think, when I got divorced, and 32. And I had 2 little children,
That's
2
tough.
and 3 years old. And I had
2 and 3 years old.
So they're a year
2
apart.
and 3.
My goodness.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I had it all. Financially, I had it all. We had nannies. We had a huge home. I had everything. He couldn't understand. He couldn't understand what was wrong with you. It's you. It's you. You're not happy. You need to do some work. Why? How could you leave all of this? Look around.
That's not what defined you. That's not what was going to make you happy.
But it had nothing to do with him, really.
Now, when you were married, did you? I mean, because I know you. We've go back many years. I mean, the first time we ever met was when you were actually working as a hostess.
Yes.
This is before you were married, before the children.
No, I was married.
Oh, you were married.
I was actually married to him.
But you didn't have the children yet?
No. Wait a second. I was not married. That was I was with him, but we were not married.
Yeah.
So you worked for?
Dell had her ex-husband had a restaurant.
Not the one I just mentioned. The first marriage was very brief. That was only for about 6 months. But my second marriage was to Franco, and we owned a restaurant together.
Yeah.
Which restaurant were you a hostess at? Because I lived in Malibu for...
Alegria.
Oh, okay. Well, then I must have met you there, because we were regulars, my husband and I.
Probably so, yeah. But I was working there as a hostess, and this is when I was on a student visa, and not many people will take students to work for them. And he was nice enough to give me a job as a hostess, and my English was really bad. It was really bad. Sometimes,
but it was an Italian restaurant. Thank goodness.
Because it's so good now. I'm listening to you, and I'm thinking of Sofia Vergara and how much better you speak than she does. I mean, you can hardly understand a word she's saying.
Well, it's been 20 years.
So you've assimilated.
I better speak some English by now.
But
what I was saying is
that
you had restaurant experience, and I know that your ex-husband was a restaurateur as well. Now, did you work together in the restaurant?
No, he didn't want me to work there.
Oh, okay.
That's why I worked at other places.
Places,
He didn't want me to be a part of the business. He said, like, one thing is for you and I to be married, and another thing is the business. I don't want
Yeah.
you to be involved.
Sensible.
So I respected that, yeah.
In some ways.
But I said, I got to do something with myself. I'm
Yeah.
bored. I need to find a job. So I was doing the modeling and working at her ex-husband's restaurant part-time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
So going back to when you were 32 and decided this is it, I've got to move forward. I've got to find what it is that's eating at me and find my aha moment, if you will. So take it from there for when your marriage ended and that transformation and how you started to get on the road to where you are today.
Yeah. Well, that's really where my transformation started. I think the divorce was the catalyst for me to get to where I am now.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that I lived then was needed. It was needed in order for me to find myself. It's like every little challenge and situation was pushing me back home to myself, to me, to getting to know who I was, which is what I wanted. I knew there was something else that I was meant to be doing on this planet, but I didn't know how to find it.
Isn't that funny? We know intuitively
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
we have. I was a little bit older, both of us, but we have similar stories and things transformed after our marriages.
Yeah.
And I always had that feeling that I'm not just meant to be a mother of these two girls. I know it.
Yeah.
And I was producing TV commercials. I know there's a bigger calling for me, and I didn't know what it was. And it's funny when sort of, I'm not going to say baggage leaves you, but when you are able to have the freedom to explore that, I mean, there's just these endless possibilities. And really, that's what you're all about. I'm sure that's what you
Yeah.
do for your clients, is helping them open those doors, because there's a knocking and they have to release and find who they are. So
Right.
anyway, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt
no,
you,
no,
but I
that's
just,
fine.
it so resonates with me. And it's,
Well,
it's so
the
true.
thing is that what I do with my client is I talk them through all the steps that I went through when I was struggling so much. And every step that I took showed me the next step. So for me, really, the key was to keep moving forward.
Yeah.
Keep one foot in front of the other. You just keep going, keep moving. And I didn't understand that in the beginning. And so I used to go back to a place where, okay, things are great. And then I didn't know what the next step was. And I will get stuck again. And I'll take 2 steps back.
But that's how we grow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
You
Yeah.
have to, because it's not, nobody just does that. And
Right.
if you do, you bomb out and you go back down real deep,
But
so you need to do it
we
gradually.
don't become conscious until we do. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Right.
And it's like you can't push anybody into a higher level of consciousness until they're really ready to see it, to recognize it. Okay, it's right there. When you learn something, that you're ready for the next level of growth because you have learned that.
That's right.
Then what's
You're
next?
ready to move forward.
But you weren't aware of this when you were going through your divorce. You just knew that deep down inside this wasn't right for you anymore and that you needed to leave.
Yeah, no, my divorce was
Yeah.
nasty. It was 3 years of going to court, and I'm sure I did so many things that if I knew what I know now, I would have never, ever done.
Yeah. That's
But that's
the,
again,
that's for all of
but
us.
but like you said,
We
that's
can
how
all raise our
how we
hand on
grow.
that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then no, I think really the thing that put me on this path was starting to just the inner work.
Yeah.
Who am I?
So did it
And
start with USM? What year did you graduate USM?
I graduated in 2014.
In 14. And were you already on a
I was
spiritual path?
already doing work. I've been going to therapy since I was 13 because my parents always thought something was wrong with me. So I was always the one dumped at the therapist's office.
Yeah.
And lucky me, you
Yeah,
know,
really.
because
Yeah.
I was,
Exactly.
they had no idea that,
Yeah.
they were actually,
Helping you.
helping me by making me wrong.
Yeah.
And so nobody went to therapy but me. They
Yeah.
thought I was the crazy child, confused, didn't know what she was
That's
doing.
always the case. I work
Yeah.
with families so much, and especially as having had one of my sons needed to go to a therapeutic boarding school through no fault of his own. He was traumatized and didn't know how to cope with life at a very young age. But I when I work with other families that have to use their words, maybe a child that's acting out or a problem child, I always try and explain that it's that the child is the catch-all. That's the sort of where all the stuff sort of ends up is usually in the child, but it's usually a dysfunction within the family.
Of course.
And it's so unfortunate that these poor young teenagers are labeled a problem child, or that's where all the issues are, and fix the child. And I often say to parents that come to see me for their child is, I could probably help your child much, much quicker if I can work with you.
Oh, absolutely.
And but unfortunately, more as often the case is there's nothing wrong with me. It's my child that's the problem.
Yes.
Fix my child and then give him back. And fortunately, I mean, we've had success, but I also know that if you can work with the whole family, the whole system, and how it relates to each other, it's just so much better.
Yeah.
And I don't know, my heart goes out to I mean, when you say that you felt that you were the problem as a teenager, and I know now as an adult you can look back and go, how fortunate was I to get all this therapy. But the years of feeling like you're the problem is damaging too.
Absolutely, and like you said, is the child is always acting out the dysfunction of the family. But if we are conscious enough to see it, and unfortunately most families can't see it.
They can't.
No.
But I've had some incredible success with parents once you've explained that to them, that they are open to looking at it too, which is great. That's the beginning.
Yeah. Good.
Well, they love their children, and I think you have to look at all avenues and how to fix it. You can. Sometimes you have to turn around and look at yourselves. So USM. So we're just going to say to our viewers is the University of Santa Monica, and that started in 2014. So that, but before that,
it's a 2-year program. So you started in 2012.
12. So it
so
ended.
What were you doing before that? You said you were already on the path.
I was working with therapists. Quite different, but I was very confused. I think one of my things was that I just didn't know. I didn't know how to access that thing that I felt in the inside, that it was so big and wanted to come out, but I didn't know what it was. And with working with therapists was very different than the work that I started doing at USM.
Exactly.
And I think USM was what really turned that around and opened it up and opened the awareness for me to be able to recognize that.
Yeah. Well, let's just give a little thing. USM is University of Santa Monica, and they offer a program, just for our listeners here that don't know. It's a 2-year, or they don't do that anymore, but back when we did it, it's a 2-year master's in spiritual psychology, and so it takes all the sort of fundamental modalities of therapy and has the spiritual aspect, and they blend it together, and it is life-changing.
Absolutely.
It is amazing. I mean, for me too, it was, I graduated in, when did I graduate? 2008? Something like that? Yeah, 2008. And I'd done an awful lot of work before then, therapy, different things. But yes, USM, I have to say, is life-changing.
Well, USM was almost like the connector for me to get back to me, to that purpose.
You got to that deepest place that brought it forward, is what it was. Yes.
Exactly.
And so what was that came forward? What is that you found?
You know, when you are in USM you go there once a week, once a month for a whole weekend, and they put you in this
very long weekend.
Yes, they put you in these trios where you counsel people, you counsel each other in the trios, and that really helped me see something in me that brought me so much joy, and when I was able to connect with that joy and see what I was doing with that, how people were reacting to that, responding to that, made me realize there's something here. There's something here that I should probably check it out. And that was maybe, getting to the coaching career that I'm in.
I also think, I mean, it's the one career that all the, for want of a better word, horrible stuff, I'll tone it down a bit, that you've been through the painful experiences that you've been through in your life, it's so advantageous to have gone through that as a coach. I mean,
Yeah.
it makes you relatable. It makes you have empathy
Oh,
and
yeah.
understanding, and it's a natural progression when you've had a struggle early on in life
Yes.
to then be able to help others.
Yeah.
And others really like, and this is true in my coaching practice too, as a health and nutrition coach. They want to hear your story.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I had
Yeah.
a story with a struggle with food and exercise, and had some eating disorders, and they want to hear that because they can relate to it, because
Absolutely.
they're coming to you because obviously there's
Sure.
a story there for them too,
Sure.
and they don't want to see this perfect little thing
No.
up there that
That's
yeah, it's
never had-
easy for you to say,
Yeah.
Right.
You
You've
know,
never had an issue.
Yeah, how would you know, and all of
Yeah.
that.
Well,
but
they want to
we
know
do
that
know
you've walked
the
the
walk.
path.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that you have been able to get to the other side.
That's why the story is important, and
Yeah.
that's the reason why we wanted your story.
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
so transition.
you.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was
Wait,
just going to
what
say,
were you gonna
and follow on to that,
Yeah.
the
That's what I was gonna
the
say.
3 areas that you coach in specifically are, I know you do the divorce. You have a phrase? I'm sorry.
I call myself an empowerment and transformation coach because in order to transform, we need to become empowered.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's like, what are you dealing with? What's the biggest struggle for you in your life right now? If you have a struggle, whether it's financial struggle or relationship or health, it's because there's something there that you are not understanding, something that you can't recognize, something that you're confused about. And it could come from a set of beliefs that you have from the past, and maybe it's an opportunity for you to revisit those beliefs and see what is it that is holding you back from seeing what is in front of you. So if you can't now become empowered, you can make a transformation. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
you have steps, very specific steps,
Yes,
in helping
I
people
do.
figure out
Yeah.
what that is that's holding them back.
and my first step is clarity. Is the thing that for me was the most difficult, to become clear about my life, about what I wanted to do with my life, to become clear about what that thing that was
Yeah, I think it is so difficult.
wanting to come
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
What
You-
was that?
How do you define it,
Yeah.
because there's so many branches to the things that are gnawing at you that it's really hard to define, and that's that's where someone like you comes in really
I have a
handy.
question because I've had years and years of therapy myself and love it. I think it's it definitely saved my life, literally. I think, but explain to me. Did you see a significant difference in finding that clarity when you worked with a life coach as opposed to a therapist?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So talk about that. What you experienced the difference?
I had
Yeah.
numerous life coaches. So I didn't see it right away. I guess with the first person yes, there were some things that I became aware of when I worked with my first life coach. But one of the things that life coaches do is they really help you access all of you on your own.
Yeah.
Like what I was
They
just
give you
saying.
the tools for you to see what's there, waiting for you to claim it.
Instead of just grazing life, it makes you step back and
Yeah.
really take a look at who you are,
Yes.
why you are, what you are, and what your purpose is.
That's right.
Because so many people, I mean, just think about all your friends and your family, and they're just grazing.
Yeah.
They're just skimming the surface.
Well, you know, if they're happy that that's
and
their
some people
journey.
are,
Yeah, exactly.
Some
There's
people
no
are.
there's no right or wrong,
No.
right? If,
Yeah.
if you're happy with what you have and the results that you're creating, then so be it.
Exactly.
Then
Yeah,
that's okay,
that's
right?
true.
If you're not
That's
happy,
true.
then
Yeah.
let's become aware of
I was
what's
just going
not
to say,
working.
even my therapist says that, being a life coach, you have so much more freedom. It's so much more creative. It's much more of an interactive journey you take together. It's just really, really powerful.
Yeah.
I mean, you were mentioning to me the other day that you have somebody that you work with that can you share that story?
Yes, my director client.
Yes, you were saying that.
He worked with therapists. And actually, he's one of my tests. He has testimonial on my website. His name is Gil Junger, and he worked with the therapist for 20 years. And the results that he's creating in 5 months with the work
Far
that we're doing
succeed.
together are exceeded
Yeah.
all of his
I
expectations.
believe
and
that.
yeah.
I believe that. We're going to take a quick break. So when we come back, we're going to talk about your 3 principles, and
Oh,
we're
yeah.
going to break
I love
it
it.
down each
Yeah.
principle one at a time, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
So we can help our audience dig into
I love
that,
it.
and then we're going to give
Let's
all
do
your
it.
personal information.
Yeah.
So
Sounds
stick
great.
with us. We'll
Just
be
2
back in
minutes.
2 minutes.
Yeah.
See you right back there. Del
Thank
Debbie's
you.
Mind, Body, Soul.
We know there are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and host of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
Hi, I'm Del Lady Jones, and I'm a certified relationship and divorce coach.
And I'm Debbie Carlin Boyle, a certified personal trainer, fitness instructor, and health coach.
Join us on Tuesdays, 2 p.m. Pacific, for Del and Debbie's Mind, Body, Soul, and everything in between, exclusively on LA Talk Live.
Become part of the conversation with expert guests discussing life-changing topics such as relationships, divorce, longevity, parenting challenges, dating, intimacy, and so much more.
We would love to hear your opinions and questions, either on our Facebook page or by calling us directly at 323-473-3100. We are Del and Debbie's Mind, Body, Soul, and everything in between. Tuesdays, 2 p.m. Pacific on latalklive.com.
You can also catch us on iTunes Radio, R&B, and now live on Facebook, or watch and listen directly at latalklive.com. And now on our YouTube channel, Del and Debbie Mind, Body, Soul. Reality radio handcrafted for your listening and viewing pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Hi, I'm Del.
And I'm Debbie.
And as a special thank you to our listeners, we'd like to offer a complimentary coaching session with either one of us or both of us if you so choose. Check us out on our individual website, deladyjones.com and fitbydesignla.com. We can work with anyone, anywhere, in person or remotely.
Contact us through our Facebook page or website at Del and Debbie Mind, Body, Soul, and leave your info and we will get right back to you. We look forward to assisting you in living a happy, healthy, and fulfilling life.
Hi, welcome back. We are Del and Debbie's Mind, Body, Soul, and everything in between. And we are here today with Adriana Sorgi, and we are going to get right back to the 3 principles. A technique that Adriana uses with her clients, and actually a technique that Adriana's used with me. And it is fascinating. You get right to it. So let's start with principle number 1.
All right. Clarity.
Mm-hmm. What you were saying earlier.
You gotta know
the
what
hardest
you
thing
want.
to
You gotta know what you want, and a lot of my clients say to me, "But I don't know what I want. How do I find what I want?" So, well, a pretty good way to get started is by knowing that what you want is the polar opposite of what you don't want.
Yeah.
Right?
So
and
true.
then within that, once you narrow them down, then you open your awareness to see more clearly what it is that you want, what brings you joy.
Most people,
Makes sense.
most people really it's easier for them to access those feelings of what they don't want.
Yeah.
Because sometimes asking them what they want just seems like it's just too much of a smorgasbord.
It's overwhelming.
Yeah,
Like,
it's like,
wait,
what do I
know.
choose?
I don't know how to answer that.
Yeah.
So I said, what is it that you don't want right
Yeah.
now? I don't want to be in a shitty relationship. Well, then you want to manifest a great relationship, don't you? Like, yeah. Well, then I don't want to be poor. Well, then you want to manifest more money in your life, right? So
bring your microphone right up to you.
Mic
Just a
trouble?
little more.
Yeah, because he can't hear you. So microphone, right to your mouth, right here where mine is.
There we go.
There
Okay.
you go.
Good?
Okay.
Yes,
Oh,
much
okay.
better.
Just lean
Great.
in, as we
Yes.
say.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lean in.
So anyways, once you become aware and you write them down, those things that I don't want, then you don't give the things that you don't want too much focus, right?
Right.
And then you start focusing on the things that you actually want, even if those things that you want that are the polar opposite of what you don't want are not really the things that were your purpose. that feel the closest to your heart. But within those things, you're going to find it.
Yeah.
Because you're going to open your awareness to see what it is inside those things that is more aligned with your heart.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
very sensible.
Yeah.
So
very.
that is number one. And it's so interesting because most of the clients that come to see me are people that they don't need more therapy. They need
Yeah, exactly.
Clarity.
Yeah, the
They need clarity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
So-
therapy's wonderful, but sometimes it you know, it depends. But sometimes you can just keep going around and round in
Yeah.
circles, and sometimes people want a roadmap,
Yeah.
some type of blueprint, idea of how to get out of there.
Yes.
What that next step is. Structure, exactly. And, you know, definitely identify those limiting beliefs, those stumbling blocks that are in the way.
Yeah.
And then have a plan, an action plan
Yes.
to move forward, and then also have somebody to be accountable to.
Yeah.
That's the huge thing.
Yeah.
That's
too.
right. You
That's what
definitely need a
coaches are
support
so-
system.
Yeah.
So a mentor, somebody that is going to hold you accountable to your dreams and your goals.
And
Yeah.
remind you
Yeah.
what those are.
Yeah.
And
So-
help you.
So good. Well, you seem to know my principles.
So I told you I experienced them. They're fabulous.
So if a viewer is listening, so the first principle that they would need to come see you, but would be to have clarity and to write down, to actually physically get out a piece of
Yes.
paper and a pencil and write down what you don't want.
So if you don't know what you want is going to be the polar opposite of what you don't want. So
Right.
write that
Write it
down.
down.
Write it down and then start to focus on those things. Put all your energy in those things that you do want.
yeah.
Yeah.
And state it in the positive.
And then make a conscious decision, a decision in your mind that you're actually going to come closer to those things, that you're actually going to manifest those things. This is what I want, and I am not going to stop until I get it. Right?
Right.
That is the attitude. So within that first principle, there's other steps, right? And one of
Yeah.
them is change your attitude. You got to change your attitude, right? If you are in a job, stuck in a job that you don't like, but you go to your job with a shitty attitude because you don't know what else you can be doing that is going to make you money, start by changing your attitude.
Agreed.
Go to your job with a good attitude, treat everybody kindly, be happy to be there because you're actually, that job is helping you pay your bills.
Yeah.
And it's a stepping stone
And
to
then-
where you're going to
yeah.
find
And
where
that,
you do
by
belong.
just changing your attitude about the thing that you're doing right now, is going to open your awareness to see the next step.
Yeah,
I
because
agree.
that really is the absolute only thing we have immediate control over. I mean, yes, we can manifest things, more things for ourselves, but the immediate thing that we have control over is how we react to things,
Right.
is our attitude, how we look at things. When I was in a job that was very trying for me and very long and hard, I used to say, I'm just paying to go to college. I'm learning
Yes.
so much here. This is just like showing up for college.
Yeah.
And it was great. And I loved what I got out of it. I know I never want to repeat that, but I love what I got out of it.
Look, how do you know? If by changing your attitude and showing up in a different way, is going to
manifest the things you want.
manifest.
There's a snowball
Maybe
effect.
somebody's going to come up to you at that same job that you hate,
Yeah.
saying, "Hey, I have an offer for you,"
Yeah.
or "You know what? I want to promote you
Yeah.
because I really love the way you're showing up, and I think you could be a great manager in this area, in this field."
Well, they're
Yeah.
saying now, just as a little sidebar, they're saying that more so than qualifications now, people hire people for their attitude, their ability to work together well in a group. It's more important than
Yeah.
where you went to college, what level of education you got.
Absolutely.
Well,
so true.
attitude is important.
It's because it's contagious,
Yeah.
and they know, and that's the whole kind of premise behind. I was just recently up north at the Google campuses, and the idea there is that they keep everybody happy within their environment, so they breed happiness and joy and satisfaction. So everybody,
Yeah.
Yeah.
puts it on each other. In workplaces, when I was younger, you as well, probably, there was never such a thing like a Google, like a campus for a workplace.
Yeah.
It was rigid. It was cubicles. It was, you couldn't wait to get out of there. It was grueling, even, in our production years. And now there is this new millennial kind of attitude. keep them happy within the workplace. It doesn't mean that they're going to stay, but they're probably going to grow actually. But they're going to grow with each other. It's going to help the business. It's going to,
totally.
you know.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. It makes so much sense.
So okay, so I think we got clear on number one.
So number one, clarity. Within the clarity, there's three things. You got to change your attitude, right? You're going to make a conscious decision that you're not going to stop until you get the things that you want, and you got to focus on the things that you want in order to bring them into your life.
Yeah.
So that's
and be grateful for what you've already got.
absolutely. And
Big
gratitude is a big one.
Yeah.
Yes.
And there are tools, I take it, to help you make that conscious decision and to
Yes.
be grateful,
yeah.
because then you can say, "Oh, I am grateful," and then walk
No.
away from it. But there are tools that you give your clients. Okay,
Absolutely.
of course.
Yeah, being grateful is not just a word, right?
Right.
You got to feel with your whole being, and you
Yes.
got to really
Mean it.
mean it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Totally.
yes.
Yeah.
So then principle 2, that takes us to principle 2.
Well, in order to back up all the things that you want and to make them happen, you got to have goals, right? You have to set goals. No goals, no success. How are you going to manifest anything if you don't have a plan, right? How am I going to get there?
Right.
And what am I going to do in order to get there? How am I going to back up? Oops.
See,
What was that? How am I going to back up my goal? Yeah, and you got to start small. Because if you don't start with small goals, then it becomes really overwhelming and you go back to not doing anything.
yeah.
So you build
Yeah.
a
to
plan.
have those
You gotta build them up.
small wins. I mean, wins are like literally the wind beneath your wings. I mean, it gets you going. It's
And
like-
and not
It's
that I
a
mean
snowball.
I'll take that back. Not small goals that are believable,
Yeah.
that you know you can achieve,
That are
right?
achievable.
what
if
did they
you
say? 80% believable, like
80% believable.
Yeah.
So if you said, I really believe that I can make $20,000 by the end of this month, right? How am I going to get there? So how am I going to back myself up in order to make that kind of money at the end of the month? What is required of me in order to get there?
Yeah.
And then take action. That is principle number 3. So you got to take radical action.
was just about to say.
I just love that word
Yeah, I
because for
do
me,
too.
that's the one thing that completely changed my career
Yeah.
and put me on the path that I really wanted to be on.
So give us an example of radical action.
So-
to you set a goal for, let's say, the end of a month or the end of 4 months.
Yeah.
What kind of radical actions? Maybe give an example.
So an example is a radical action is the thing that doing the things that scare you the most, doing the things that are seem impossible. I will never be able to do that in the past, right? But take a leap.
Right.
Yeah.
Our fears
Right?
keep us from moving forward.
But
So
that's
we have
not-
to
do it
move past
anyway.
our
Yeah.
fears.
Go
Yes.
beyond your fear and do it anyway. Even if it scares you, do it. If you're going to go talk in front of a big audience, but you know that perhaps after your talk, a lot of people, if you talk from your heart, are going to be interested in working with you. So do it anyway. Go talk from your heart. Look, the people that resonate with your message are going to follow you. The people that don't, they won't. And
Yeah.
that's okay. Right? So
Absolutely.
why keep
Why keep it inside
keep
and
it
not
inside?
get out
Just-
there
yeah.
and
Put it out there,
Yes.
put yourself out, and see what happens.
I want to go back for a minute to step 2 because you have this wonderful acronym of SMART. So can you just
Oh,
break
right.
down SMART for us?
Yeah,
in-
and that is not even something that I came up with myself. Actually, my boyfriend Nicola, who was here,
Yes.
he was the one. It's so make smart goals have to be smart.
Yeah.
And what smart means, if we break it down, is specific, measurable. What is the next one?
Attainable
Attainable,
and timely.
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 That's it.
Well, no, there was one more.
Oh, we're missing an R.
Relevant.
Oh, relevant.
Oh, that's my
Yes.
fault.
Okay.
So I think that's
I'm dyslexic.
fascinating.
You can see that I did not notice the missing R.
I know, but I'm the one who wrote that. I didn't
So
either.
goals have to be smart, and if you put it down that way, then
Yeah.
it's pretty easy to understand what you
Yeah.
need to do with
Yes.
the goal. Yeah.
Exactly. So back to the radical action, and the goal number 3. That's where that's where I say it's that 20%. Say, that part of you that you can still see is somewhat conceivable, but it's just so frightening. And you just want to stay in that comfort zone. And you just want to say, well, and it's just that's that push.
Yes.
That's that radical where you really just step out,
You know,
get into the divine unknowing, as we call it.
And that is what my life has been the last year, I think. It's like really living on the edge and doing something every day that scares me, that scares the hell out of me, but I do it.
But you feel so alive when you conquer a fear. It's
yeah.
exhilarating. It's
Afterwards,
intoxicating.
it's the best feeling. Yes.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, I love that
And
feeling.
that I have actually discovered that is the only thing that is going to take your life to the next level.
Yeah. And it's the most rewarding. It's the most exhilarating. That's when you really know you're alive, is when you just push yourself beyond that limiting belief.
Yeah.
And, you know, you can have it. You don't judge it. It comes up and again. But you just don't live by it. You just say, yeah, okay, that's that belief. You know, go back to where you were. I don't need you right now. And I'm going to do this.
Yes.
Yeah.
You kind of gotta have a conversation with the things that stop you.
Yes.
And say, you know
That
what,
little
I see
voice.
you, you're here. You want to stop me, but no, not this time.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm
Exactly.
better than this.
That
Now
little
I'm
voice.
more aware than
And
this.
even, I mean, that brings up something I do a lot. I studied with Debi Ford, and we did a lot of the shadow work. But it's to understand that fear and be respectful of it, and to acknowledge that fear has helped to. Oops, that's our little. That's our
Yes, our next guest.
that's our little
That's
mascot.
my dog.
Yes, that's
Ellie.
the,
Sorry, everybody. I apologize. Ellie,
she's
come
our,
here.
She's our security guard.
There's somebody who just walked in the station. Sorry.
That's okay. So, what was I saying? Yes, but to not try and suppress that fear and push it away, but acknowledge it. That's a normal part of life, to feel fear, to just say, well, you know, thank you, fear, for coming and visiting me again.
Right.
Maybe in the past you served a purpose, but right now, know that, you know, we're not playing that game anymore.
Right.
We're going to play the game of radical change and radical action and just
yes.
moving
To
forward.
befriend the fear.
Befriend the
Yeah.
fear, exactly. Don't waste energy fighting anything.
Right.
Just
You
accept it.
served me in the past, but now I know better than that.
Yeah.
It's
And this
it's
is what
so
I'm
hard
doing.
sometimes too. Just a little aside, you know, seeing people that you know are paralyzed by their fear and don't have even the wherewithal to be able to seek out someone like you, or even therapy, to help them overcome. You know, the people that could, you know, are in a very prime of their life, mid-30s, let's say, and it's time to step out, make a change. You're not happy where you are. You're, you know, like what you were saying, you knew there was something more. And I mean, like you said, there are people that feel just fine where they're at, but you can tell that they are drowning in that sorrow. And eventually, from what I see, I work at 2 drug and alcohol rehabs, I see them starting to self-medicate. I see alcoholic problems where they start doing the blame game and blaming other people because they're so stuck in their fear of moving forward to finding where they belong.
Right.
And it's just sometimes I feel like, how do you help those people that aren't ready? I guess you can if they're not ready to help themselves,
Well,
right?
what they're really stuck in a belief system that has nothing to do with who they are, with who they truly are.
That's
from,
true.
You know,
from their
they
childhood.
keep believing what they learned, what
Yes.
somebody told them
Yeah.
about them.
If you see someone like that, what can you do to help them change their belief system so they will step forward and maybe uncover who they really are and get rid of those fears?
Yeah, well, you gotta start step by step. You gotta start revisiting every little thing about what do you believe about this thing? What do you believe about yourself? What do you believe about life?
But
You know
I'm
what
saying
helped me a bit?
what I could do to help someone who I see stuck.
Well,
How do I say that to them?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All
Just-
right.
You
I
gotta start by
think-
helping
Yeah.
them change
Help
what they're
them.
thinking about life, what
Okay.
they're thinking about, and reframing those beliefs, turning them around.
Okay.
What is the truth?
One of the
about-
biggest things I find too is that, especially, you know, in the last, say, 20 plus years, where the self-help movement and the self-improvement movement, the message was that sort of there's something wrong with you, you need to fix it, you need to. And what I'm finding now, which I absolutely love, we're coming back more to the premise of, you know, we are all born innately perfect just as we
Yeah.
are. We
Mhm.
all
Yeah.
have different qualities and
Yes.
strengths, but we are perfect just as we are. And it's not that we need to get better or improve ourselves. We actually need to get back to who we really
Well,
are.
and you gotta be in acceptance. You gotta
Yeah.
go back to accept who your in nature,
Exactly.
your essential nature.
Mm-hmm.
If I am whole and that's the way that I was born,
Yeah.
you were not born with all these judgments and all these beliefs that stop you from succeeding.
Yeah.
You are designed to be successful. You are designed to be in abundance. You are designed to thrive, to be in love.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
But it's the beliefs that hold us back. So it's really going back to your essential
Self,
nature,
yes.
to yourself. But in order to do that, you got to accept where you are in this moment.
Yeah.
This
Right.
is where I'm at. This is what I believe, and this is what is holding me back.
Yeah.
Right? But I
It's
want to
cle-
change it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
clearing the junk that you've allowed to just
Pile up
pile
from
up
all that
and
stuff
attach
from
to you
your early
and
years.
limit
Yes.
you and hold you back. So it's really about releasing all that junk,
Yes.
letting it go. So just for people that are bogged down with those feelings of lack of self-worth or depression or sadness, my message would be that there's help out there. There are coaches out there. There's a coach for everybody. Some coaches are more proactive. Others have a softer, gentler touch.
Yeah.
I know for myself, I had such limiting belief systems that anybody that came after me too hard, I was afraid of.
Yeah.
So I needed a softer touch. So I got stronger. And now anybody can say anything.
Yeah.
But when I first started getting healthier, I knew that I needed a slightly softer touch. So my words of encouragement to anybody out there is there is help.
But they first have to realize
No,
that
they
they
do.
are.
Well, they
in
have
a
to make
rut.
they have to
They
make
are
a
s-
decision.
Yeah.
They have to make a decision.
the decision.
I was
Yeah.
I was just about
Yeah.
to share. It's a little personal, but there were times in my life when I was younger when I absolutely did not think that I could survive on this planet.
Yeah.
I didn't blame everybody else. I blamed myself. I thought that I was just too weak, too vulnerable, just not equipped with what it takes to survive on this planet.
Yeah.
And in my teens, there was a time. I mean, I loved my mother so much. I would never have done anything, but I really couldn't bear the thought of being on this planet for much longer. And now I look back and I think, oh my God, I've had the most incredible life. I mean, I've had a very challenging life
Yeah.
too, but the gifts of those challenges and what I've come through, and for anybody out there that's listening that feels depressed or don't think that they can handle this life as it is, please reach out to people
Yeah.
like Adriana. She is amazing, and self. I mean, just there is help out there.
Yes.
There
Yes.
really is, and you
Indeed.
just
Agreed.
nobody is a lost cause.
You know, one of the things that I love about one of my mentors, he says, when you make a decision, the opportunity shows up. See,
That's
we think we gotta, the opportunity has to show up first in order for us to make the decision.
Yeah.
And I have proved that so many times how it really works. You
It
make a
does.
decision. It's like you say,
I see it in my practice.
I want to change. Then perhaps somebody that can really help you is going to show up. Is right in front of you. That
Right.
person will show up. I want to make more money. You know, right? You make the decision. Then perhaps it's a huge investment, right? But you make the decision, and then you can take that leap of faith and just know that I'm going to improve my life.
Right.
And I'm doing this because I know there's more about me, and I want to become more of myself, right? You can't give more of yourself to anybody until you become more of you
Right.
within yourself.
And you got to get
Yeah.
on that path
Yeah.
with
And-
that first decision. I see it all the time in my practice. You know, people are overweight, and being overweight depresses them.
Yeah.
Not only are they depressed because of the food they're eating, but they're depressed because of what they look like
Yeah.
and feel like. So, you know, I see 'em, as soon as they make the decision to work with me and take that leap and take the steps that it's going to take, because I have the tools. I'm the accountability coach in that respect. I can help them with their diet big time, and with their exercise and all those elements of life, all those primary foods in life that feed us besides the food on the plate, all those things that are essential to wellness. if they're willing to look at themselves. I mean, this is a real physical thing now we're talking about, but but I'm working. It's all encompassing.
Oh, you've got to deal
with
the other stuff before even the physical.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so I realized, and that's the reason why I took the step to change and to add to my just helping people get in shape for the prom or their weddings or their daughter's wedding, or lose the extra 10 pounds. Isn't the same about changing somebody's life who has been feeding this depression with food and non-movement and just sleeping 12, 15 hours a night. Just seeing them make the decision, I can't do this anymore, and being able to be there for them. That's the change. That's the catalyst.
And it starts off even before they do that. It starts off with just total acceptance of themselves and total compassion and love for themselves, and working on that they deserve to cherish and love and comfort themselves in different ways, not necessarily with food. But it's such a, I think it's so sticky when it comes to around weight and body image, because it's almost counterintuitive, because you're trying to say to somebody, love yourself exactly as you are, self-acceptance, and at the same time it's like self-acceptance but change this. So it's a subtle,
Well, it just depends on what that weight is doing to you.
Exactly.
We've had some great girls on here that have talked about being they're a little overweight, but they love themselves.
Yeah.
That's different than those that are very depressed based on how they're eating and how they
that's
see
such a great
themselves
point,
in
and
the mirror.
that's really important to say. It's not everybody should be a size 2, 3,
no,
4,
that's
5,
not,
6.
I'm only talking about if they're
the people
upset
that
with themselves.
Exactly.
And then they feed that problem, and it may not be food. You're right. It could be alcohol, and it can be drugs. I see it every day, every single day. And now my next step is going into the rehabilitation centers and working with them as they're being detoxing and going through the sober living, is showing them once they get out how they can not go back to the old habits of feeding that emotional distraught that in turn makes them look bad and feel bad. And that's, they took the steps to go to rehab. People take the steps to work out. People take steps to change in their career. It's just, I see it every day, how important it is to make the decision, get a coach, and go for it. Get the tools, get the...
Right.
So, but we want to, we're going to lose time.
I was just going to
We
say, we're
get
going to
back
lose
to you.
Adriana in a minute.
Yeah.
And I just want to go back to the areas that you, besides the 3 principles that you use, you also really focus, because of your own experiences and what you've learned and how you've grown from it, but you work with grateful divorce and joyful parenting and being a single mother, and then also claiming all that you can be.
Yeah.
So those are the services you offer.
Which I love. That's my number one, and it really encompasses everything else. Claim all that you are. Because if you don't claim all that you are, how are you going to go through a graceful divorce? Right? You got to love yourself first, so that you can go through the divorce gracefully. Yeah.
And also, I coach in the spiritual divorce program that Debi Ford did, and one of the biggest things I think is to not look at your divorce as a mistake, to look at it as, especially if you have children, it can't be a mistake, but as an opportunity that it brought so many lessons. And and clearly there was love there for the two of you to have got together in the beginning. But if you can be aware of all the gifts that marriage gave you, it doesn't mean it has to last an eternity. It doesn't even end, actually. The divorce is, especially with children, it just changes form.
Yes.
It changes form. So if you can just, leave it with the gifts and be grateful for them, and then also the growth.
Yeah.
And
for everything that you have experienced in your life up until now has been absolutely a blessing and an opportunity for you to be the person that you are today, right? To recognize your gifts and your talents and more of who you are and what you can do with with your gifts.
Yeah.
And it's never too
in the
late. We're
world.
always growing. Even, it's never too late to
No,
say,
never.
well, this is cool. But wait, here's this new thing that, and we just keep moving
Yes.
forward once you find,
That's right.
your sort of path. The path just grows and grows.
Well, I would like, I know I'm not quite sure where we are with the time, but we can do this now anyway. But share your website, how people can contact you. And as I said before, I've been coached by Adriana. I know how incredible she is. So
Thank you.
please just share your website and let our viewers and listeners
Yeah,
know.
my website is adrianasorgi.com.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I offer all my 3 packages there. And
What are the
there's
packages, real quick?
Graceful divorce,
Okay.
claim all that you are,
Uh-huh.
and joyful parenting.
Okay, so that's what we were
Yes.
talking about.
And I
Great.
do have a retreat, a 3-day retreat at Casa del Mar in Santa Monica, and a VIP day that I offer.
Love that.
as well. Yeah.
Wonderful.
So is that a group thing, or is that
No,
single?
single.
That's one. Do you do group
one-on-one.
coaching at all?
I do. I
You
am
do.
actually going to start a women's group for 6 women. It's starting in July for business. It's a business
Oh,
group.
good.
Uh-huh.
Okay, great.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So you need
Wow.
to go to, say your website one more time.
AdrianaSorgi.com. Everything is there.
Great.
Yeah.
And
Wonderful.
words of wisdom. Leave us with a thought. Leave our listeners with some
I think
parting words.
the one thing that I'm going to say as reiterate in that is accept yourself as you are, because if you don't accept yourself, you're not going to be able to recognize the next step.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Well,
So
thank
potent.
you so much,
Thank you so
Adriana.
much.
Yes,
It was
thank you.
wonderful. Yay.
Thank you very
Thank
much for
you.
taking the time.
So, welcome. We are going to be back next week. Please join us again for Del and Debbie's Mind, Body, Soul, and have a
2
fabulous
p.m.
week.
We'll be right here. Bye, everybody. We'll see you next
Bye-bye.
week.
So just dance, 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 go. Ooh, it's something magical.
Thank you for tuning into LA Talk Live and the Talk Live Broadcast Network, original reality radio, handcrafted for your listening and viewing pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk. Stay tuned.